In this video, we will cover the main features of the identity tile, which includes how to enable external identity providers for user authentication, access control lists for the various functions in Canary, how users and groups are added, where API tokens are created, and finally, how tag security is configured. Let's get started. When we open the identity tile, we are first presented with the client applications that connect to the Canary system. The Canary Admin Client, which I'm using right now, Axiom, and the Excel add-in. Whenever a user connects with one of these clients, they are first presented with a login screen, whereupon they are redirected back to the client application once authenticated. Canary Admin and Excel add-in users will always be redirected to the client on their local machine using the loopback IP address. Axiom, on the other hand, can be configured to redirect to a specific URI. The URIs listed here are the defaults the end user can use to connect to Axiom. More URIs can be added by editing the Axiom application. Below we have providers. These are the identity providers which determine how an end user will authenticate when signing in with one of the client applications from above. By default, Windows Active Directory is enabled. Additionally, the user has the option of adding an OpenID Connect provider as another means of authentication if not wishing to use Windows AD or Kerberos. In this example, we have added an Azure identity provider by supplying the appropriate information in the fields listed here. More to come on this in a later video. Next, we'll look at the Security tab. The first screen that appears is the Access Control Lists. This screen controls which users are authorized to perform specific functions within the Canary system, such as saving to the read-only folder in Axiom or accessing the Canary system from a remote admin client. Users or groups can be added to a list as needed. If a user attempts to do something for which they do not have authorization, they will appear on the corresponding list in a request state, which can then be allowed or denied. These lists use the internal Canary users and groups, which are mapped to an external user or group coming from the identity provider, or to an API token, which we'll look at later. For now, let's take a look at the user screen. This screen displays all of the internal Canary users which are created in the system. As just mentioned, the Canary user is linked to either an external user account or an API token. When a user logs on for the first time, a corresponding internal Canary user is created automatically and mapped to their external account. Canary user accounts can also be created manually if wanting to map it to an API token. When a user logs in, all of the domain groups of which they are part of are discovered. From the group screen, Canary groups can be created, then mapped to an external group coming from the identity provider. It is these Canary groups and users which are used within the access control lists and when setting up tag security. By default, Canary includes an administrators group and everyone. More groups can be added using the Add Group button. Next, we have API tokens. API tokens are used for a variety of functions within the Canary system, such as using the read and write APIs, making a secure connection with the ODBC client, configuring remote store and forward services when tag security is enabled, and more. When a token is created, it is linked to a Canary user account, which can then be placed on the appropriate access control list and or given permissions within tag security. Speaking of tag security, let's discuss that next. From this screen, Canary users and groups can be given read and write permissions at various levels throughout the tag hierarchy. This dictates what tags an end user is actually able to browse when using a client to connect. Explicit permissions override inherited ones. By default, tag security is disabled as to make the system wide open for anyone wishing to consume data. Make sure permissions are properly in place before enabling this feature, as you may prevent a user from accessing their data. If a remote view service from another Canary server is configured to use this identity service, the identity service will connect to the view service on the host machine over port 55321 to configure the tag security on it. In this way, tag security is maintained from a single identity service that may host multiple view services. That's all for the identity tile. Thanks for watching.